All right. Good morning. What is up, everybody? Matt Modi here with another live stream of Fast Break Bets presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, of course, live on the Betting Pros YouTube channel every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, giving out picks for every single game, basically up until the next stream. So for today, we have 3 games tonight that we're going to go through. We have 4 games tomorrow that we're going to go through on Saturday. And then Sunday, as of right now, there's just one game out. As looks like I'm having camera issues. No, we're good. Okay. Sorry. It looked like, sorry. Producer says we're good. The live stream, I thought we're good or having issues. Sorry about that. Anyways. Yeah. And then right now, as of Sunday, there's just one game that we have odds for, Knicks Sixers, which we'll go through. High level stuff that's happened through the through the NBA playoffs so far. We had teams, 2 of the 3 teams yesterday that were down 2-0 came out with the victory yesterday. Of course, the Lakers being the one that could not do that. They just could not get past the boogeyman of the Nuggets down 3-0, but the Sixers, the Magic, they both won. So our system plays of betting on the teams down 2-0 coming back home went 2-1 yesterday. And then, of course, we'll end with the same game parlay at the end of the day as well. Most importantly, get all your questions, all your comments, everything that you could possibly get in the chat. These last couple streams have been really, really interactive with everybody posting questions, comments, and stuff, which has been really, really cool. So whether you have a bet that you just want to shout out, you have a bet that you want my opinion on, or you just want to talk basketball, whatever it may be, get everything you can in the chat. I see Alicia in here as well, or already. Good morning. Appreciate you for tuning in. And then, of course, if you could subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel, obviously all that stuff helps a ton. And then you can find me on social media at my Twitter handle you see here. We can get right through it. So again, we have 3 games on tap for tonight. The first one, Bucks versus Pacers. The first play that I'm going to go ahead and lock in here. We're going Damian Lillard under 6.5 assists, -130 odds per the Betting Pros consensus. And then, of course, you can also see what the best odds end up being on DraftKings as well, because the odds are constantly changing. This Damian Lillard assist play, we went with it last game. That cashed with relative ease. He had 5 assists. He only had 10 potential assists. Granted, we got plus money for the last one. I don't love the -130 odds, but I wouldn't be surprised if this line closed at 5.5 or closed like in the -150s. So I do think that we're going to get some positive CLV in this one. And the logic for why I liked it last game, like nothing scared me off of that. I didn't see anything from the last game that would make me think that Dame is going to go over his assist number. I know he's gone under in both games so far, so it feels a little bit square, but the fact that he's gone under, that is not the reason why I'm on it. Look at his potential assists from games 1 and 2. That is the most important thing when you try to project moving forward. Game 1, he had 11 potential assists. Game 2, he only had 10. Now, we had 5 assists on 10, but if you're telling me he needs to get 7 assists and he's hovering between 10, 11 potential assists, as my dog in the background, he likes this Damian Lillard play as well. That's just a high conversion rate that I think is tough, especially when you consider that Giannis is most likely almost guaranteed to be out for this game. So you lose a very easy rim running threat. I mean, just a lob to Giannis is a very easy assist. That's taken away. And the fact that Chris Middleton, I think he's going to play. He's currently questionable. Just takes another pick and roll partner, another ball handler, someone that he could run 2-man game without. And even if that leads to more usage for Dame, my assumption would be that more usage for Dame would be actual usage in terms of the NBA.com definition of a play that ends in a jump shot, or a shot, it doesn't need to be a jump shot, a game that ends in a field goal attempt, or a play, field goal attempt, or free throw. That is what usage rate is defined as by NBA.com. And high usage players, which Dame has been through 2 games and should only continue to be in game 3, they torch the Pacers from a scoring perspective, but those same high usage players, they do not get a lot of assists against the Pacers. On the entire season, the Pacers allowed literally the most points per game via isolation. On the entire season, the Pacers allowed the most points per game to main pick and roll ball handlers. When someone is scoring, that means they are not assisting. The Pacers didn't give up really any points via spot up shot opportunities. And they also did not give up a lot of points to pick and roll men either. Those are the 2 main ways in which point guards and high usage players will get assists. And the data to back that up, point guards had the least amount of assists per game against the Pacers. The Pacers literally gave up the fewest assists per game. So through 2 games, the potential assists are not there. I'm not expecting the actual assists to be there either. And if he has a really high conversion rate, like he gets 7 assists on 10 potential assists, I'll probably end up going back to his under right again the next game, just going right back to it if that happens tonight. And we'll probably get a lot better line than the minus 130 as well. Matthew Chalk, great name, asking about TJ McConnell over 7.5 points. I think that's a really good play. He's gone under. Well, I guess he scored 10 points. He's gone under his mainline point prop in games 1 and 2. He scored 10 points in game 1. His over under was either 10.5 or 11.5, depending on when you got it. And then he went under in game 2 as well. Now that point total, that over under's dropped to 7.5, and role players historically play better at home than they do on the road. Just look at what the Magic and what the Sixers did yesterday. Even though I know Embiid went off for 50, but Cameron Payne had a good game. Kelly Oubre had a good game. So I totally think that the TJ McConnell play is a good one. I couldn't quite get there. Just the fact that he hasn't played great. Like even the game he scored 10 points in game 1, his shooting percentage was not great. So maybe just the length of the Bucks bother him a little bit. But I do think, you're getting a great line, a great discount at the 7.5. Mike Thompson, Jedi Master Modi, your services have once again been requested. Lead us to another Green Day of bangers. That's the goal. The goal is to have a Green Day, and I'm not talking about the band. All right, we are 1 play deep. Before we get into the next one, you see DraftKings on the screen here. The 82-game quote-unquote preseason, that is officially in the books. We all know nobody cares really about the regular season. The NBA tried to make us care about the regular season by adding the 65-game limit. Doesn't really matter. It's finally time for the real season, which is the playoffs. Don't miss out on any of the NBA playoff action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. From the play-in tournament, which is now past us, all the way through the finals, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered. Same game parlays, live betting, odds boost, promotions. You see a ton of specifically the odds boost and promotions through DraftKings. So you definitely want to take advantage of those, as they can be very profitable if done right. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code NBA Bets. New customers can bet $5 and turn that into $200 in bonus bets instantly, depending what your unit size is. That's like 2 units up to 20 units of bonus bets just from downloading, using the promo code NBA Bets and betting $5. That's code NBA Bets only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. All right, the last 2 games we have for tonight, Clippers versus Mavericks. I'm going to have 2 plays in this Clippers one. 1 player on each team. First up, we're looking at Ivica Zubac over 22.5 points plus rebounds, minus 105 odds per the Betting Pros consensus. Zubac, this is not a play. I like the first 2 that you see me talk about. We're not fading recent results here, which is generally what I like to do in the playoffs. We're not doing that with the first 2, this Dame one and the Zubac one. But I absolutely love this Zubac play. First of all, he's been awesome through 2 games of the series. I'm expecting him to continue to be awesome through the game 3 for tonight, especially when you consider the fact that Dan Gafford is banged up. He might not play in this game. If he does, maybe he will be a little bit limited because of the injury. And if Gafford's in, great. Zubac has been playing really well with Gafford in. If Gafford's out, that just means that Zubac is going to be able to dominate down low in the paint even more, probably dominate on the offensive glass as well. What I like about backing Zubac in this spot is he's good enough to guard the perimeter. So if the Suns decide to play 5 out, stretch you out, make him guard the perimeter, he's capable of doing that. So like if they go with Maxi Kleber at the 5, Maxi Kleber can shoot, that's fine. Zubac can easily step out and guard the perimeter. Now that will impact his rebounds on those specific plays, but it's not as though he's going to get completely played off the floor, again, even if the Mavericks decide to go small. And the Clippers completely stopped playing their backup center to Zubac in Mason Plumlee. Plumlee was terrible in game 2. He was awful. He played 12 and a half minutes in game 1, and then he went down to just under 11 minutes in game 2. But the more important part of that 11 minutes in game 2, he did not play a single second of the second half. He played all 10.9, basically 11 minutes that he played was all in the first half. And then Zubac played 20 and a half of the 24 minutes of the second half. So In 2 games, he's played 33 and a half and 33 minutes. I am expecting those minutes to increase tonight, maybe get up to the 35, 37, even 40-minute number. And even if he doesn't, he's shown that he can cash this, even if he plays exactly 33 minutes, which he's played the first 2 games. In those 2 games, and I saved this point for last, 35 combined points plus rebounds in game 1, 25 combined points plus rebounds in game 2, cashing it easily by multiple stats. And I like both points and rebounds. Obviously, that's why I combined it as opposed to taking one individually. I also liked this a little bit better than the double-double because if he has a blow-up game from points, which I think is possible, only has 9 rebounds, that would be brutal. So I wanted to have exposure to both. All right, so that's our first play for this Clippers-Mavericks game. Next up, we are going with Luka Doncic over 9.5 assists, plus 110 odds per the Betting Pros consensus. To get the scary part out of the way, Gafford being banged up, not playing, possibly being limited, will limit the rim running potential for Luka. So that does make the ceiling a little bit scary. But I still love this play for Luka because in game 2, Luka had 18 potential assists, and Gafford was in and out of the lineup that entire game. So even if we have that exact same scenario, 18 potential assists is awesome. And this is a positive expected value banger that I found using Betting Pros, using the Betting Pros cheat sheet. 5 stars, positive expected value play. They project Luka to record 10.4 assists, so basically 10.5. They give him about just below a 60% chance of going over the 9.5 assist number, which is pretty awesome considering the fact that we were able to get it at plus 110 odds or whatever the current price is at DraftKings as well, as you see on the screen here. Now, this is a fade of recent results that we're finally getting back to for these playoffs. He hasn't yet hit this number in either of the 2 games so far in the series. But game 1, they scored 8 points in the second quarter. They scored 30 points in the first half. It was just a weird game start to finish. And then even in game 2, which was a pretty gross game in which they did not score 100 points, Luka had 9 assists, so we would have gotten hooked, which would have been brutal. But as I mentioned, in the more important number, 18 potential assists. That is something that I think Luka can replicate moving forward because it's Luka. He runs the entire offense. If he's not scoring, he's passing. And a 50% conversion ratio from assist to potential assist, that's something that I want to fade moving forward. That's a pretty low number considering just Luka's, if you look at his regular season, he's got like a 60% conversion ratio. And when you consider how low scoring the game was in general, it makes sense that the actual assists were down. My guess here is that we're going to see a little bit of a better offensive performance overall, like not just the Mavericks, but from both teams. We saw that in most of the games last night. The Magic scored 121 points. The Sixers scored 125 points. In the Knicks were at 114. And even the Lakers, both teams scored within the 100. So we saw a little bit more scoring in last night's games. Now, that doesn't guarantee that that's going to happen tonight, but just because the series have been low scoring doesn't mean that's going to continue the entire time. And I will admit, yeah, Luka doesn't have the best hit rate specifically against the Clippers, but with more minutes in the playoffs, with 18 potential assists last game, and the guess that the Mavericks are going to be a little bit higher scoring in this game than they were last game, I think that we're getting a pretty good price here on Luka over 9.5 assists. So I love this one. That's our third play so far. Next up, last game for tonight, Timberwolves versus Suns. I'm taking Kevin Durant over 26.5 points. Plus 102. Actually, the best offered price now that I last checked was actually plus 102 at DraftKings. So hopefully that price is still available that you'll be able to see on the screen here. So this is perfect zigzag, perfect flip-flop, fade recent results type of strategy. Kevin Durant was awesome in game 1. He scored 31 points on 17 shots. He was less awesome in game 2, only scoring 18 points, going 6 of 15 from the field. But for whatever reason, not for whatever reason, the length of an aggressiveness from the Timberwolves seems to impact Devin Booker more than it does Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant was able to have an efficient, good scoring game in game 1, just didn't quite have that in game 2, whereas Devin Booker hasn't quite been as aggressive getting to his spots, getting to his jump shot, or Kevin Durant has. And I like this as a fade of recent results with the Suns going back home down 2-0. Expecting Kevin Durant to shoot significantly better in a game 3 that is essentially a must win. You don't want to go down 3-0 ever. And I get that this next stat that I'm going to give, it's not perfect going back to last year, but if you will allow me to go back to last year and just include every playoff game that Kevin Durant has played as a member of the Suns, he has gone over 26.5 points in 8 of 13 games. In one game he missed, he had exactly 26. If that happens again, we would get hooked, and that would be brutal, but it shows that he's getting close. And then another game he went under, he had 25 points, so not quite a hook, one basket away from cashing it. So my guess here is that Kevin Durant shows up in this game. I think that he is going to have a good game going back home. And we saw the same thing happen last year, the Suns against the Nuggets. They looked lifeless in games 1 and 2. They came back. Kevin Durant was awesome. I mean, and Booker was, to be fair. Awesome in games 3 and 4, tied the series up before eventually losing the series, which I'm not predicting the Suns are going to win, but I do think that they'll have a better game tonight. And before I get into the next one, I mentioned that I used the Betting Pros cheat sheet to find that it was a Luka Doncic play, I believe it was. Yeah. So if you are interested, you can actually get a chance to win a premium 1-year subscription to Betting Pros. It's your place to start betting smarter, not harder. All you need to do in order to be entered is subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel, which hopefully you are already doing. You do that and you comment, and that's how you will be entered. A winner will be announced right here on the channel. So make sure to turn on notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes drop. Come in and claim your prize. But a 1-year premium subscription giveaway. Comment, subscribe, good to go. Just a reminder to, here we go. I was just about to remind people to get those questions, comments, and everything in the chat. Matthew Chalk, right on cue. Thoughts on Timberwolves first half spread -1.5, probably chasing the odds, but I think it's 50-50. I mean, yeah, I won't talk a lot of people out of anything that's priced at +210, and I get that this isn't perfect. Maybe the Knicks were winning at halftime last night. Maybe I'm misremembering that, but it's a scary proposition, the team that's down 2-0, or I guess I should say if the team is up 2-0 and then going on the road for game 3 to bet that team, especially in the first half. I wouldn't talk you out of like Timberwolves money line. You could probably get a pretty good price. But again, at +210, it's like anybody can say that a bet that's +210 is unlikely to hit. That's not the best analysis. I think for the value, it's pretty good. That would just scare me because maybe it's kind of like with the Lakers and the Nuggets. The Lakers come out with a lot of energy, are unable to keep it up. And the Suns have kind of done that too. Yeah, okay, so the Knicks were up 3.5. So that would have gone 1 and 2 yesterday, but at +210, 1 and 2 is profitable. So yeah, I won't talk you out of that at all. All right, next game. It's the first game tomorrow. Cavaliers versus Magic. I'm just taking the under 201. DraftKings is giving this to you at -110 odds. There aren't a ton of player props out yet for the games that played last night, so I'm mostly going to have mainline plays for those. But I love this mainline under 201.5 for this game tomorrow. I rarely play anything above 1 unit. This is one play that I would consider playing for 1.5 units. Now, I have not done that yet, so I want to be clear. But if I was going to play something above 1 unit, it would be this type of spot. So this game, or the total of game 3, barely went over this 201.5 number. I think there were 6 points scored in the last 30 seconds to hit the over. But if you just look at how that game went, crazy, ridiculous, outlier shooting performance, offensive performance from the Magic. They scored 121 points. That's after scoring 83 points in game 1 and 86 points in game 2. Even if you assume that the team going back home is going to score more points, 35, 40 more points from games 1 and 2 to game 3 is a complete and utter outlier. Whereas the Cavaliers scoring 83 points, that's not completely ridiculous. Even at home, they did not get 100 points. They scored 97 in game 1. They scored 96 in game 2. Whereas, as I mentioned, the Magic, when they were on the road in games 1 and 2, scored 83 and 86 points. The biggest outlier from all these scoring performances is the Magic scoring 121. That is not something that I project to continue game over game. I think the more likely scenario here is that both teams go back to scoring in the 90s, if not even one team in the 80s. So I think you're getting a really, really good price on this to go under 201 just because game 3 went over. And I think that this one cashes with relative ease. Again, I will almost never recommend betting over a unit on a play. This is one situation where I would consider it. If I end up doing that, I will let people know. So don't immediately put your bankroll on this one for now. But I think it's a really, really good spot. Next up, we have the Thunder versus Pelicans. And we're going right back to the system of the team down 2-0, going back home and winning. I have the Pelicans money line. Right now, you can get this best offered at +100 per the Betting Pros consensus. You can look at the app to line shop for best offered odds on main lines. It's pretty cool. You can literally just compare the different sports books and see where you can get the best odds. And you can also see what DraftKings is offering it as well. And Mr. Play-by-Play, I'll answer your question in just a second. So I decided to, maybe that I should do this, but I decided to go against the system play for the Suns specifically, because even though I think Kevin Durant has a good game, I kind of get the sense that Suns team is ready to lay down and die. I didn't want to put the system play on the Suns. I do like it for the Pelicans. I think that the Pelicans can win outright. I also like it normally, like every other team that's down 0-2 going back home has been favored, or at least you're getting for minus money. Even the Lakers last night, you were not getting plus money for them. So getting even money is pretty good. And just look at what we've seen through 3 of the teams that were down 0-2. The Magic looked completely dead in games 1 and 2. Not only did they win, as I just talked about, they had a crazy offensive performance. The Sixers won and covered as well. They won by 11. Now, the Lakers were the one team that lost. The Nuggets are a completely different animal, and Lakers just cannot seem to get over the hump, even for a single game against the Nuggets. That's not really the case with the Pelicans and the Thunder. The Pelicans going back home, even without Zion, I think they can get it done. So the Westbrook rebounds plus assists, I know a lot of people that I respect are on Westbrook tonight. I've seen people on his points specifically. I've seen people on his PRA. I've seen people on his points plus assists. Really, any combination of Russell Westbrook, I think, is pretty good. I think you're getting somewhat of a discounted line because Kawhi's back, but he did not look, even though he played in the mid-30s, Kawhi did in terms of minutes, he didn't look like he was all the way back. So Russell Westbrook will probably have more usage than he did in the regular season. So I didn't go with that play. I don't really love to have 2 full game props on players in the same team, because if the game doesn't go the way you expect, it's really easy to go down 2-0 or go down 0-2, I should say. That happened with the Knicks Sixers game back on, I guess that was Monday night, where I had 2 plays in that game. They both lost. But if you're just asking me to isolate that Westbrook play alone, I think it's a good one. All right. Next up, we have the Celtics versus Heat game going on tomorrow. I do have 2 plays on this one on the same team, but they're not full game total, so hopefully we're good. The first one is Derrick White over 2.5 made 3-pointers, plus 110 odds per the Betting Pros consensus. This is a slightly positive expected value play here from Betting Pros. Betting Pros projects White to go over the 2.5 point number, 2.5 made 3-pointers number, I should say. They give him about a 50.6% chance of going over. Considering we're getting this for plus money, the fact that the win percentage, according to Betting Pros, is above 50%, that's pretty good just from a strictly value perspective, which makes sense why it's positive EV. But really, I could not believe my eyes when I saw this price, when I saw the odds. In game 1, I was on Derrick White over 2.5 made 3-pointers. It was at minus 114 odds. So think about that. Game 1, minus 114 odds for the same exact play. He cashed it, making 4 3-pointers in that game. In game 2, I wanted to look at the play again. I decided to not play it, not because I didn't like the play itself, because I didn't like the odds. It was offered like minus 135, minus 140 odds, which I figured wasn't worth it. And in that game, he went under, making 2 3-pointers on only 4 attempts. So just because he only had 4 attempts last game, we're now getting this for plus money, I think is crazy. I will gladly take advantage of that. And that 4 attempts from 3-point range from Derrick White, that is a complete outlier. If you look at Derrick White just in the regular season and Derrick White specifically against the Heat in the playoffs as well, which we have a pretty decent sample size considering they played 7 games last year and have now played 2 this year. He attempted 8 3-pointers in game 1, so averages out to 6 in the 2 games. Very, very good math at the top of my head. And if you go back to the playoff series last year, game 2 was literally the only game in which Derrick White attempted 4 or fewer 3-pointers. Every single game going back to last year, he attempted 5 or more. That's 8 of 9 games. To me, 4 attempts is an outlier. And also, it was just a weird game for the Celtics in general. They almost acted like that the Heat were just going to lay down and die and that they could easily win that game. Obviously, that wasn't the case because the Heat won. And if you go back and look at last year's playoff series, you look at the same 9-game sample size. So as I mentioned, 4 is the fewest 3-point attempts that he's attempted in those 9 games. He's also made 3 or more 3-pointers in 7 of 9 games as well. The only 2 that he missed, he still made exactly 2 3-pointers. I think this is an absolute smash spot for Derrick White and his 3-point prop. I also think that the next play we have, Kristaps Porzingis over 4.5 first quarter points, -104 odds per the Betting Pros consensus. I think this is another beautiful smash spot, another beautiful fade of recent results, and just another spot where I think this is a crazy line for Kristaps Porzingis. Now, the first thing people are going to say, well, did you watch him play last game? Yeah, I know. He was really, really bad. Turns out good NBA players sometimes have bad games. Generally, that's not something that continues game over game. This is a perfect, beautiful fade of recent results. I'm not going to try and spin zone that he wasn't give you anything other than, yeah, he was bad last game. He scored 0 points in the first quarter. He was 0 of 4 from the field in the first quarter, and he only scored 6 points in the entire game, going 1 of 9 from the field. Perfect fade of recent results. Perfect buy low spot for Kristaps Porzingis, who's been really good in a lot of situations for the Celtics. He's been really good overall, just been a good player for them. He's been very good specifically in the first quarter this year, and even more specifically, he's been very good in the first quarter against the Heat. And without even getting into the matchup real quick, just think about it from an odds perspective from last game to this game. Last game, his over-under, same, was at 4.5. It was best offered at -140. I know that because I wanted to play it, but I didn't because I didn't love the odds. And same with Derrick White. I got lucky that I didn't play it. Some books even bumped up his first quarter point total to 5.5 as opposed to 4.5. That's a huge deal in the first quarter. He goes 2 of 4, 1 3-pointer, 1 2-pointer. That cashes 4.5. That hooks you on 5.5. Getting this 4.5, especially for close to even money, is a massive, massive deal. It's a really, really good play. And then to go back to the matchup of his first quarter and against the Heat, all that stuff. So in 3 games, specifically the regular season against the Heat, Kristaps Porzingis went over 4.5 first quarter points in 2 of 3 games. But if you look at the one game he missed, that was in October. It was like the second or third game of the season. They were still figuring out their roles. And he only played 7 minutes in the first quarter of that game. That 7 minutes is a complete outlier in terms of how often he normally plays in the first quarter on the entire season. He played about 10 minutes. He averaged, I should say, about 10 minutes of playing time in the first quarter. And then if you look at these 2 playoff games, he's played 9 and 10 minutes in the first quarter. So 7 minutes, complete outlier. And if you look at the entire season, he's gone over 4.5 points in the first quarter in 41 of 59 games. That's a 70% hit rate. And he's done it in 3 of 5 games, including the playoffs against the Heat as well. I think this is a really, really good play. Just because he had one bad game does not scare me off by any means. It makes me like this play even more because it's just a perfect zigzag opportunity. So we got 2 plays left. We have 1 game left tomorrow, 1 game left on Sunday. Before I get into that, I want to talk to you about the Betting Pros Discord. If you are looking to up your game in sports betting, look no further than the exclusive Discord betting community at bettingpros.com/chat. In the Discord, Betting Pros has gathered a team of expert handicappers providing you with free picks for whatever time of year in the sport is going on during that time of year. So in October, when the NBA season starts, free picks for NFL, NBA, college football. Now we're looking at baseball. We're looking at, NFL draft is still going on. We got some props for that. Golf, soccer, any sport you're looking for, any market you're looking for, player props, live betting, futures, much, much more. Get in on the action, connect with like-minded sports betting enthusiasts, elevate your own betting strategy by gaining insights from the pros who are in the Discord as well. Join us today. Take your sports betting experience to the next level, bettingpros.com/chat. All right, 2 more plays. Both of these teams played last night, so we got limited player props to look for. So I'm just taking mainline plays. Number 1, Nuggets versus Lakers game. I'm taking the Nuggets -2.5, -110 odds per the Betting Pros consensus. Listen, maybe there is something to the fact that the Lakers just cannot get over the hump against the Nuggets. The Lakers had a 20-point lead in game 2, ran out of gas in the second half, lost that game on a buzzer beater. I thought the Lakers would come back and win game 3. I thought that last year's Nuggets team was better than this year's Nuggets team. I thought this year's Lakers team was better than last year's Lakers team. I thought that this series would be different, and I was wrong. And I'm not going to make that mistake again. I legitimately think there is something to the Lakers' older team, LeBron, Anthony Davis, not able to just keep up the same energy over the course of an entire game. And the Lakers, they've had a lead in every single game at halftime. But when it gets to the second half, when it gets to crunch time, the Lakers just cannot keep up the same level of intensity. And the Nuggets crunch time offense is legitimately the best crunch time offense I've ever seen in my entire life. Basically, every other team, when it gets into the fourth quarter, takes bad shots, it takes a tough time or has a tough time just scoring. That's not the case with the Nuggets. A lot of that is just because Jokic is the best offensive player we've almost ever seen ever. But every time they get down the floor, they get a good shot. And a lot of times it doesn't take that much energy expenditure to get that good shot. It's a pick and roll with Jokic, or you just run Jokic in the post and they're getting a good shot, which is basically no other team can say that. So I think that I think that the Nuggets take care of business once again, sweep the Lakers out of the playoffs for the second straight year. Last up, our 10th and final pick of the stream. And then we have our same game parlay. I should say that. We do have our same game parlay at the end of all these picks as well. Knicks versus 76ers. I'm just taking the Knicks plus 5.5, minus 112 odds per the Betting Pros consensus. I know that the Sixers won and covered in game 3, but I think that game 4, I think it's going to be another close game. And I'm not necessarily saying I think the Knicks win straight up. I am pretty confident that they're going to be able to cover the 5.5 point spread. I think this ends up being a pretty close game overall. If you look at the box scores from game 3, there were some pretty glaring outlier performances in favor of the Sixers. And that makes sense. Like when you score 125 points in a playoff game, especially against a good defense like the Knicks, that's what's going to happen. The most glaring example of this is Joel Embiid, who's a good player, obviously a great player, scored 50 points. He went 5 of 7 from 3-point range. Embiid's awesome. He can basically score whenever he wants. Him scoring 50 points is a lot different from him scoring 35 points, which is still a really good game. And 5 of 7 from deep is a complete outlier. So even if Embiid has still a really good game in game 4, it's unlikely he's going to get up 50 points. And then you look at Cameron Payne, didn't really play in games 1 and 2, shot 3 of 4 from deep in game 3. You look at Kelly Oubre, did not get even double digits in games 1 and 2, scored 15 points in game 3. Now, I know that role players, yes, they generally tend to be better at home than on the road. I've said that. That's why I was on the Sixers in game 3. But after an outlier blow-up performance like they had in game 3, I'm ready to back the Knicks again in game 4. I think what we saw from the Knicks, like Jalen Brunson, he's capable of blowing up again. He scored, 38 points? Even if he gets to 30, you expect better games from DiVincenzo, who didn't make a three-pointer, and stuff like that. So I like backing the Knicks to cover the spread. 5.5 points, I think, is really good. And then for our same game parlay, it's for the Clippers versus Mavericks game tonight. So the odds of the SGP are plus 450. The 3 plays, play number 1, Luka Doncic over 9.5 assists. I already mentioned why I like Luka assists. He had 18 potential assists last game. Now the Mavericks are going back home, probably able to score more points. Probably a higher conversion ratio gets you to 10 assists. I have Zubac over 11.5 points. You can't parlay SGP combos like points plus rebounds. So I just decided to stick with the points as that's what I like a little bit better. He's been really, really good through 2 games with a banged up Gafford, whether he plays or not. I think Zubac should be able to dominate down low. And then the last leg that I have is a play that I haven't mentioned yet, but it's James Harden over 2.5 made 3-pointers. This is a fade of recent results. James Harden shot really well in game 1, shot really poorly in game 2. The zigzag method is the perfect example of James Harden as a playoff player. So I think that he shoots a ton of 3-pointers once again. I think he has a better shooting game than he did in game 2. And you can get that for plus 450 odds. And that was my same game parlay of the day. If you're looking to build your own same game parlay, check out the Betting Pros Same Game Parlay Builder. Combine multiple bets within a single NBA game. You can leverage insights like correlated bet recommendations, positive EV ratings, cover probability, plenty more on the Betting Pros Same Game Parlay Builder. Perfect your own strategy by analyzing Betting Pros overall correlation grades and projections. Stay ahead of the curve, stay ahead of the following by looking at the latest SGPs placed by the fellow bettors on the app. Start building winning parlays today at bettingpros.com/parlay. And that's all we got. I appreciate, as always, everybody for tuning in. Appreciate everybody who was putting comments in the chat. Let's hope we all have a great weekend, cashing a bunch of bangers, and I will catch you again on Monday.